So, navigating through the mist of life. This is the picture I clicked in Myanmar about 10 years back at the Inle Lake. And as I looked through the mist, the thoughts in my mind were indeed, my life has been so misty that I don't know what holds next, or tomorrow, or month, or a year later. But what I know is what I'm doing right now. That's all I know. I see myself having turned into a maverick. And the question I pose to myself often is there a formula in becoming a maverick? What is a maverick? Maverick is a person who's following an unconventional life. Are we born as mavericks or do we become one? How do we add an un to the conventional? I've spent 25 years in the corporate world, but to me, that's a conventional life, which was the foundation on which I added an un and became an unconventional person. For the last 4 years of my life, I have no structure in my life. I start working at 6 a.m. I don't stop till late in the nights. I'm working more than I worked for 25 years in the corporate. I was the revenue management head for American Express. And in 2014, because of personal reasons, I left my career there with the hope that I'll get something else. But I didn't know life would shape me into something else. So the question is that how do you change from an absolutely different career to something which you've never planned for? I'm not qualified as an academician. I'm not a historian. I'm not a photographer, but I became one. I'm not a filmmaker, but I'm becoming one. And I'm not being an author, but I'm writing books right now. How did I do this? That's the piece that I'm going to share with you today as I talk through in the next few slides. To me, there's a structure in becoming a maverick. And the structure is you do the things in the moment in the right way. You give your 100% energy in what you're doing, and then let the mist slowly remove from your life, and you'll see the clarity. So what have I done in the last 4 years that the world has started seeing me as a maverick is in these two books, which are, I can proudly claim that I'm the first in 7 decades, in 70 years, to have taken a subject like this and gone deep inside Pakistan, and having traveled to 126 cities and villages in a quest to just answer one question, that why has the world forgotten the footprints that my community churned in the lands that became Pakistan and India in 1947 when the British left, they divided the subcontinent. That's the question that I wanted to answer. And why is it the world has not chosen to document this for posterity? Let me give you a bit of a background. What you see on this map today in the green portion is Pakistan, on the white side is Indian subcontinent, it's in India. This entire land, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan, was British India till 1947. In 1947, August, as British leave, they divided into what became India and Pakistan. And on this map, if I was to overlay that, what you see as the yellow section, this was 98 years before British actually took over Punjab, which was from the Sikh Empire, the Sikh Kingdom. And 98 years when they're leaving, that whole territory is divided in such a manner that 80% of that land becomes, it falls into the territories of Pakistan. And overnight, in the ethnic violence that ensues across the subcontinent, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs kill each other in the name of religion. 10 million people cross boundaries, giving up their entire cultural habitat in which for generations that they had grown. In my community, it was an empire that the British took over, and 98 years later when they left, what we find as a consequence of that division is that the entire community walked away from this land and went into India. Centuries of legacy, monuments, architecture, art, martial remnants, interfaith aspects, abandoned overnight. And then I ask myself, why has the world been sleeping? Why has my community been sleeping? That there is no text on this, there's no documentation. And that's the passion that has driven me for the last 4 years and made me into an author, made me into a maverick who's gone into a territory where it's virtually thought to be impossible to go inside Pakistan into the remotest of the areas and research on these things. And I'm proud I've had an opportunity to do this. But these two books, which have taken me about 4 years, each one in an academic environment, would take you a minimum of 6 years to do as a PhD work. I have done these works not for a degree. I'm not a Dr. Amardeep Singh. I'm still Amardeep Singh, but I've done this at a pace of 3 years to churn this out because I feel the world needs to know this story. I could choose to get a double doctorate, but I choose not to actually get it because there is a more compelling reason behind these works. So the question then is, how does one create and transform one's passion into a career, into something meaningful? I know for sure the world will not remember me as a man who spent 25 years in American Express doing a 9-to-5 job. But if the world will remember me, it will be for what I've done now. And therefore, when do we make that transition in our lives is the question I pose. You have to create passions through mastery. You have to build them. And I say this to the youth, don't follow your passions. They always suggest to the kids in present generation, follow your passions. And I say, don't follow your passion. Create your passions. There's a huge difference between following and creating. Because when you follow, you don't know where you're heading. You experiment with your passions, but you follow what you really believe in, and you have to let that surface. So how do you find your passion is the question. And to find your passion in this mist of life, the key is to try many things. And don't call it a passion till such time you had an affirmative feedback. Affirmative feedback from the public, from your own sources, that this is the path that your life's mission is all about. And for that, it has taken me 30 years to discover my life's hidden mission. Because when I was in the corporate world, I know apart from the 9-to-5 job, actually it was a 12-hour job that I used to do, but when I would come back home, I was reading history, I was doing arts, I was doing photography, I was reading spirituality, I was reading about all communities' cultures, and these layers were slowly adding up. And when I was actually making travels into the most remotest part of the world, my holidays would not be about going into a spa or going into a holiday resort, which typically we tend to do these days. And I would advise the youth, try and find a focus in your life, do meaningful things. 30 years of passion resulted in my becoming slowly a creative writer, because from a photographer, I started writing for magazine, and I was testing myself as a person who could bring visual into the writing skills and combine the two to tell a story. These kind of works are much, much humongous, and they didn't happen overnight. But because the feedback that I got from these small steps that I took gave me the confidence. And therefore, when I left, I embarked on this journey. And therefore, what I say is that at every point in this misty life, look at your past to validate the feedback for what you're doing is correct or not correct. And if you find the passion that you're pursuing at that point of time has to be abandoned, abandon it. Try many things, because you got to hold on to one aim of your life when you find it, and it's not going to happen overnight. If you think tomorrow you'll find your passion, no, you got to experiment a lot of things and get the feedback, keep generating new skills. And when you generate the new skills, you will find opportunities will lock you. You know, opportunities don't lie in the distant. Opportunities always lie behind your backyard. You just got to turn back and hold it. You may not be able to see them, but if you're doing the things rightly, you will come across that crossroad where you will find it. It's right behind your backyard, and you pick it up. That's how I transform myself into these things. And as I am telling you why I'm seeing opportunities, 4 years of my life have gone into this, and I'm at that critical juncture where I'm seeing myself now turning from a photographer, from a writer, where I was a risk management man or a revenue management man in the corporate world, becoming this. And from here, now the opportunity right behind me is to become a filmmaker, to become a documentary maker, because these stories need to be documented for posterity. So my next mission is to go back into the country and retrace my journey and tell the story to the world so that they know in the form of a media which they will only understand in the futures to come, because no one's going to read books. My experience in the life has been that life is basically like a sine curve. It gives you the peaks, it gives you the turfs. How do you navigate through this peaks and the turfs? And I see the model in the way an octopus navigates his way through an ocean. What an octopus does is it closes its tentacles around its body, gives it a thrust, and then opens it out to get the thrust to move on. And I see these two things as basically when it moves its tentacles inside, is what I call as the challenging phases of your life. Life will never be static. Life will throw these ups and downs, and in the challenging phases of your lives, become like an octopus that goes inwards. Because the strength lies in your intrinsic ability to churn things. You can do anything that's possible, but provided you go inwards. And don't miss that opportunity when life becomes a challenging environment around you. You will turn inwards and you will reflect within, and you will let your intrinsic being guide you what to do. And when you find the crossroads, and when you find the life actually is posing a positivity for your as an environment, become like an octopus that will throw open its tentacles and give you a thrust. That's a phase when you navigate, meet people. You are at a crossroads where you enable things, you connect the dots, you become an extroverted person. I see the mistake that we make in today's life is we brand people very simply as an extroverted and an introverted person. And in the corporate world, we make a big mistake of boxing people. No human being can be boxed. The skills of a successful human being lies in an ability to become an extroverted person and an introverted person when the life poses the right kind of a challenge or an opportunity. And that's what the skill that we have to develop out here. I would just like to leave a few pointers out here for the students to keep in their mind as you go through your life, what you should keep in mind. The first and foremost thing is don't shy from trying new things. As much as you will try, that many answers and opportunities you will find. Sure, there will be failures. I've had many failures for 25, 30 years. But my successes are on the bed of failures because I've tried them. Don't shy from trying. Take baby steps. As I said, opportunities lie right in your backyard. Learn to take baby steps. Don't jump. Let one skill evolve into the next skill, evolve into the third skill, fourth skill, and keep moving on till you find the skill that's what your life's calling is all about. Be consistent is the main thing. Consistency is what's going to drive you success in the long run. Just because you found a failure in your so-called passion, which you were trying to pursue, and abandoning every hope to continue that is a sure shot recipe for disaster. Be consistent in whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter of the outcome today, but if you're doing the right consistent approach, you will find success. No one can take away from you in the long run. Look for acceptability signals. As you do the right things, look for feedback as it comes in. Validate against those feedbacks and then navigate your course. And the last thing that I would say is never chase recognition. The biggest problem in today's world is we are chasing recognition. We are in a rapid pace of finding success in the immediate. Don't do that. Let recognition chase you. It's easy said than done. But if you're doing the right steps, recognition will follow. It will chase you. Don't make the mistake of chasing recognition. With that, I just want to end with this last slide. It's the picture of a cloud that I clicked on the Tibetan plateau. This was again about 9 years back. And the sun's hidden behind it. And basically, to me, the message that I'm trying to give out of this picture is that the aim of every individual's life is basically embedded within you. Be like a white cloud. Navigate through the life's experiences without, I may say this, but I know the today's corporate world may not like this, but I say this without an aim, external aim. Because your intrinsic aim is embedded inside you. Surely have goals. I'm not trying to say that don't have goals, but don't be chasing for things that are beyond your intrinsic being, because the goals are actually hidden behind you. Find that purpose for your life for which you've been sent onto this earth And once you found that, you'll be like a white cloud which will navigate through the clouds as the winds come. It will take you from one place to the other to your destination, and you will discover it. Thank you very much.